So today we are going to discuss how to set up our checklist in our opportunities and select some of those items to be client updates, which will be sent automatically via the words of the great Jason to our client, because that way they get updated on what we are doing for their property or doing for them as a buyer. And when it's done automatically, then we don't have to remember to do it, right? So that's a good thing. So first off, we're going to log into Command, and please feel free at any point if you guys have any questions to post it in the chat. I will try to be keeping up with that, as well as you are welcome to raise your hand or just unmute yourself and speak up. Okay, so here we go. We are in Command. I have gone to my Opportunities applet, which is our handshake on the left. Excuse me for looking so small sometimes. I'm trying to keep up with the waiting. There we go. Okay. So if you're on a team, number one, you're going to see um, two pipelines. You're going to see your team pipeline and your individual pipeline. So if you're on a team, more than likely your rainmaker is the one that's going to have set up these checklists for you. If you're an individual agent, which is how we're going to operate today, I'm going to operate under my individual agent pipeline, then you can set them up for yourself. Now, we hope to get to the point where we, as a leadership team, can set up a baseline checklist for you and then share it out with all of you, but we are not quite to that point yet. So for now, I'm going to share a checklist with you in the chat. This was not my checklist. This was set up by another labs advisor named Kale Wright. And so you'll see on here, he has an escrow box. We don't use escrow necessarily in North Carolina. So I've just taken everything out of that because I don't want to mess up his spreadsheet. And I've tried to update as much of it as I can for you guys to be more in line with North Carolina. There's a couple of more things that I need to update down here, but I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the chat for you guys as it is, and then I'm going to continue to work on editing this. So this is just a spreadsheet that Kale set up. So I'm going to toggle back to the buyer side so you can see he has set it up in the same way as the stages and phases that are within Command. Okay. So opportunities within Command is what we track to use to track our current and potential transactions. So each opportunity, whether it is currently going or could happen, can actually be entered in Command. So you can see we cannot change these phases: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, closed. The green is our listing pipeline. The orange color, or sharpish color, is our buyer pipeline. Same thing, cultivate, appointment, active, and under contract, right? So we cannot change these. However, once we click into one, I'm going to start with a buyer. Then you can see we have these different phases underneath. Now, these can be changed. So if you don't feel the need when a buyer is in cultivate, which would be, yes, I want to buy, but it's going to be 6 months, or yes, I want to buy, but I can't do it until next year, then that's okay. You can go ahead and put them in cultivate and leave them under the watch phase, a nurture phase, or the hot phase, which means that you're about to have an appointment with them, right? So if you don't feel the need for all three of these, you can absolutely customize these by coming into the upper right corner and clicking edit stages. Okay.
Damn.
So from here, we can, trying to figure out who's not muted. Let's see. There we go. So from here, we can delete with the little trash can next to the stage name, or we can actually add another stage. So if we feel the need for another stage here, then we can absolutely add that in as well. Okay, so does anybody have any questions on how we got here? We logged into Command, We came over to our opportunities handshake. Our green pipeline is our listings. Our orange pipeline is our buyers. And if you're wild and crazy enough to want to do leases, then that's what the purple pipeline is for also. But for now, we're going to start off with buyers. Okay, so I'm going to click on cultivate, and it brings me into all of my cultivating opportunities. And in the upper right corner is where I can go to the edit stages button. Okay. So now from here is where you will see the checklist column. Okay. So now setting up these checklists means that every opportunity that you drop into this stage is going to be assigned this checklist, right? So I'm going to open this up. So when you're cultivating and you first met somebody, you want to get their email, you want to get their phone number, you probably want to friend them on social media somewhere, right? Whether that's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever social media that they like to use, Snapchat. Make sure that you're friending them so you can kind of keep up with them, right? That's a great way to keep in contact with somebody. And you can go ahead and talk about what neighborhoods they like. So you can kind of decide how interested are they, where are they, but the great thing to do is go ahead and start talking about where they would like to live when you're talking about a buyer. So if we reference back this spreadsheet, you can see the same things: get their email address, get their phone number, obtain their current address, right? So it depends on the buyer. If they're renting and they're just renting there and they don't really care to live in that area, then it may not matter where they currently live. But if maybe they're renting a house and they love that neighborhood, so they do want to stay there, those are the kind of conversations you should be having, right? Then we move over into the nurture. You want to follow up with a contact after the initial contact was made. You may want to add them to a smart plan. So if they said, I want to buy in 3 months, then it might be great to put them on the biweekly neighborhood nurture, so it's a little more frequent contact every 2 weeks, right? But if they say maybe I'm not going to be able to buy for 6 months, then maybe you want to put them on the monthly neighborhood nurture, and you want to be following their social media accounts for any cues that may lead you to believe that they're ready to move, right? So does anybody have any questions on the cultivate phase and what it's for? And some people don't use the cultivate phase, right? Some people just enter the contact when they are ready to transact, and that is okay. The whole point of command is it is completely customizable to you and your business. So if you do not want to use cultivate, you do not have to, right? I'm just showing you all the things that you could do. So now if I wanted to add an item to this, I could say, let's see, I don't want to add anything under cultivate, but let's come down here to hot. We don't have anything added in hot. So I'm going to open up the checklist for this, and I'm going to go ahead and add an item. So prepare. I can't type today either. That's all right. So here under hot, we have email lender partners, right? So you could come in and say you want to email your lender partners to this contact. So I personally, as a broker, always give 3 options. That is completely up to you. So if you want to give them somebody from Keller Mortgage, I like to use Fairway Mortgage a lot here in Winston-Salem. I think they are great. And maybe Atlantic Bay. So you might want to email them 3 different lenders that you work with. And again, for myself personally in my business, I always like to have a pre-approval in place before I actually sit down and have a buyer consultation with them. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, that I'm going to email my lender partners to them. I'm going to put obtain pre-approval. Just remember, this is completely customizable to you and your business and how you like to do things. And then I'm going to say, let's see what else we can pop in here. I can maybe set them up a save search in command. Now, me personally, I like to set people up a save search in command, but then once we really get down to it, I actually like to set up their searches through MLS because I just know that it's very real time when an agent enters a listing that it's automatically going to get sent to them. But the command save searches, especially for somebody who's not looking to move right now, are really good. So I'm going to say command set up save search, and then I'm going to save that. So now I have 4 checklist items under my watch, 2 under my nurture, 3 under hot. So let's pop back into my opportunities pipeline. I'm going to open up this cultivate phase, and I will use Mr. Dakota here as an example. I can pick up Dakota's card, which currently has 2 checklist items. So let's say I did put him on that biweekly neighborhood nurture. I'm going to check that off. And I have been monitoring his social media. So I know that he is ready to move into hot at this time. If I wanted to add a special item, again, these checklists that we're setting up are going to apply to any opportunity that you drop into these different phases and stages. But if I have something specific to just this person, I can actually add that item from here. And you will see this actually comes equipped with setting a due date, right? So I could say I need to do it tomorrow or Wednesday at 10 o'clock, like so. And that's going to set that up for me. Let's see what that could be. Connect with lender. You know, whatever I need that to be. I can click save. It is going to actually set me a task for Wednesday at 10 a.m. to let me know to do this, right? I'm going to go ahead and say that I've done all those and close them. I'm going to pick Dakota up and drop him into hot. And you will see his new checklist has become available. So now I can start my email, my lender partners, obtain his pre-approval. I can set due dates for them here. Now, one of the biggest questions I get is, why can't I set up a due date when I'm setting up the entire checklist? That functionality has been requested, and we do hope to get it at some point where it would be, if the contact moves into here within 5 days, do this. It's not there yet. So you set up your checklists broadly, and then once you actually have a contact in an opportunity, you can begin to set due dates. And if you are on a team, you can also assign these things to your teammates. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that really quickly so that I'm not leaving out my teams. I'm going to pop back over to my team, and I will show you. Let me pull up somebody that's not a real person. Hold on, bear with me one sec. So I'm going to pull up Tyson and move him somewhere where I know I have a checklist. Let's see if I can find something in here. I don't really have checklists set up on my teams, y'all. Sorry. Let's see. Here we go. I'm just going to say test. So now you can see, here's the test. I can actually assign this to one of my team members, and I can give it a due date and time, right? But I cannot do that until it's actually assigned to an opportunity. I can't do it from the setup. Does anybody have any questions about that before we move forward? Good. Try to keep up with the chat and make sure nobody's in the waiting room. Great. Okay. So now I'm going to move back to being myself. Now, let's talk about client updates, right? So you may have seen when I'm going to go into searching, I'm going to click on my checklist here. So set them up as save search in the MLS. I can check this client update box, and that is going to actually send them an email, right? So if I want to see what that looks like, I can actually go into my settings, and I'm going to come down to my command settings, opportunity settings, client update. So again, that's settings, command settings, opportunity settings, client update, right? So you can see this is the one for my team. This is the one for me personally. So when do I want these emails to go out? I can set that time right here. Send it this time of day. Who is it coming from? If it's you as an individual agent, it's just going to come from you, right? If you are on a team and you want the client update to come from the Rainmaker, or you want it to come from the assignee, then you can choose who it's coming from, right? Is it coming from the owner of the opportunity or the assignee, or is it coming from one of the Rainmakers of the team? Is it going to go to only the primary client, or is it going to go to the client and the co-client, right? We're also sending to who? The assignees or the owners. So here's where you can get into your settings and you can actually see a preview of what this email looks like. So John Smith, we're checking things off the list. Here's a summary of the tasks that were completed for your address. Checklist item 1, 2, 3. Now, in order for these client updates to work, you actually need to go in and check off the things that you're doing in your opportunity, right? So you just have to remember, and it's very good to go ahead and set this up ahead of time and systematize your business before you're actually doing business, because notoriously, and I'm saying this from experience because I am still an agent too, agents are notorious for dropping the ball. That's why I named this class Don't Drop the Ball, because I forgot to order my seller documents on time, or I forgot to schedule my pest inspection with my home inspection or something like that. So if you have a checklist in place, it stops you from doing that as long as you actually use the system, right? So making sure that we go into our checklist, that we have them all set up, and that as we work through them, we are actually going in and saying, okay, I did set them up a saved search. I am calling them weekly. I did make sure that I got their pre-approval. And then anything else that I need to add along the way. Let's see, they're in searching. So discuss multiple offers. That's a big thing right now, right? Might not always be a big thing. So maybe you don't want to add it to your standard checklist. You just want to add it this time. Multiple offer scenarios for this neighborhood, right? So if you know that the area that this person is looking at is going into 10, 15 offers per property, you might want to have that discussion with them up front so that you can set up expectations. So let's go back into this checklist and talk about what all these are. These are really great things for you to remember to do, guys. Seriously, because you will forget, especially if you're juggling a few deals at one time. It's very easy to forget to do one of these things. So you do want to create your client folder where, whether you're going to go digital or hard copy with that. Buyer discussion topics. Some people have shared these. They're really your buyer talking points, right? Where do you want to live? I know that that place is going into multiple offers. Are you prepared to go above asking price? Should we start lower, right? So get your discussion topics written out, just like your scripts, and take them with you to your buyer consultation. You do want to conduct a buyer pre-qualification and get your buyer consultation scheduled. Don't set up time to meet with somebody that can't buy, right? We don't want to do that. This is a very busy market. So you want to make sure that you're meeting with serious buyers, okay? So add buyer consult to your opportunity as an activity. So everything that we're doing, we should be tracking, because then when we're on the phone with that person in a week, we can say, yes, it was really great meeting with you last Monday, right? And continue our discussion. So once you have scheduled your consultation, you may want to go ahead and start your transaction in DocuSign or Dotloop, whichever one you're choosing to use is fine, because you're going to need to you're working with real estate agents, hopefully your buyer agency agreement together so that you can either get that docu-signed at the table, docu-signed via email, or signed in ink at the table, right? Go ahead and send over some sample documents to them. We check it off on their buyer agency agreement that we gave them a sample offer to purchase and contract, a sample of questions and answers on home inspections, right? Another important one nowadays that's a more recent document is questions and answers on due diligence, right? Go ahead and send them those sample documents ahead of time. That way, when you're signing your buyer agency agreement and you check off those boxes, then you've actually done what you were checking off, right? You check the chat. Will you send us the checklist? Yes, I will. I'm going to drop it into the chat. Just bear with me one sec. And please keep in mind, this was not built in North Carolina. I have edited it to a point, but not all of the way. Bear with me and let me get my chat pulled up from Zoom so that I can drop this in to your chat. Just give me one sec so I don't forget to do this. I have it on my desktop. Make sure this is the right one.
Monica, I noticed there is a file in the chat, but it doesn't seem to want to do anything.
Yep, hold on one sec. Let me see if I can get this to work. Giving me a network error. That's okay. If you guys will type your names into the chat, I will email it to you after. I can look your email addresses up. I'll try again here in a minute. It just doesn't want to cooperate right now. So in this, perfect. In this checklist here, he also did listings, right? So again, we don't really do we don't do escrow here, but same thing. Watch, obtain the email, friend on social media, obtain the phone number, obtain the current address. Follow up with a contact after initial contact made. Add them to a smart plan. Follow them on social media. So it's really a lot of the same stuff, right? Except for when you get down into appointment and active for a listing versus a buyer, you're looking at some other things. And he has also denoted some of the things that you would include in that client update, right? So staging the home, yes, you want to, when you check off staging the home, you want them to see that in their email, that you got the keys from them. That way everybody's on the same page. I really want to touch on this policy on working hours and being present. Set your client expectations up front, right? You do not work 24 hours a day, and if you do, you shouldn't. We need to work on time blocking, right? Go ahead and set the expectation of when you are available and when you are not. And the great thing about these client updates is that when our clients call us at 10:30 at night, it's not because they just want to bother us, it's because they want information. So if we are sending them these client updates, they don't have to call me and say, did you get the flyers made for my listing? Did you put the lockbox on the front door? Like maybe they're out of town. If you're checking off your checklist and it's sending them that client update, then they have an email from you that says, I did this today, right? Then they have the data that they're seeking, which is really what, at the end of the day, everybody wants is clear communication, right? So you'll see some other things on here. Listing input by TC would be transaction coordinator. If you're not using a transaction coordinator, then that won't apply to you. So that is another question that I get is, well, what about if they're using, if there's something in here and I'm not using it? So say that you added to get the septic permit, right? But this property that you're working on doesn't have a septic permit. So then what do I do with it? I know that's a frequently asked question on some of the things that I see online. So if you had, for instance, obtain septic permit as one of your checklist items for your listing, but this one doesn't have a checklist, a septic permit. You don't really want to check it off that you did it because you didn't do it because it doesn't exist. So what you can do is just go in and edit it and say not applicable, right? And then you can save it, and then you can choose to check it off if you want to, but it says it's not applicable, right? So that is the only, I wish there was a checkbox that said NA, and we have requested that, but it's not there yet. So until then, that is a great workaround, is just to go ahead and hit the edit button and say that it doesn't apply, or you can delete it, especially if you're a single agent. If it just doesn't apply, you can just delete it. So those are the two choices. Yeah, go ahead.
Monica, no, when you do that, it just does it to that one buyer or that one specific thing. It doesn't change everything.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Exactly. And so anything that we set up, again, handshake, we open up one of our phases. We come up to the edit button. Anything that we set up in these checklists is for all opportunities that go into that phase and stage. And then within each individual opportunity, we can actually add checklist items, delete checklist items, and it's not going to mess up the checklist items for all, right? Only that one specifically. And this little gear icon also takes you into that client update settings. It takes you straight there so that you can edit these if you need to, right? So that's a super cool feature. The client update feature, guys, that is the most underused part of Command. And if you look at the realtor reports that I've shared with you guys in the Facebook groups, one of the number one things that clients, both sellers and buyers, want is more communication, right? More communication, more updates, being kept in the loop more with their transaction. So by checking off your checklist items, which is automatically sending over that update to them, you're doing two things right. You're keeping yourself on the right track, and you're updating your client while you're doing it, right? Without an extra step. Okay, so make sure that you're utilizing that. I've taught several classes recently on opportunities just broadly, and a lot of people don't even know that these checklists exist. And so, yes, it takes a little bit of setup on the front end, and how worth it is it to have that in place for when you're doing opportunities, right? Because I know I have some seasoned agents in here that do multiple opportunities at one time. It's easy, right? It's easy to let something slide. I know that several of the people in here know what I'm talking about as I look at who's in the room. Even if you're juggling 2 or 3 active buyers at one time, and it's like, okay, I've got to schedule a home inspection, I've got to schedule the pest inspection, I've got to call the closing attorney, I've got to get with the lender, I've got to send this over to the attorney. You know, the home inspection's back. Now I need to do my due diligence, repair, and request. And it's just a lot, right? There's a lot of stuff that we have to handle as agents. And so if you set this up for yourself, you don't have to second guess yourself and go, did I do that? Right? Did I remember to do that? Have I ordered that? Have I sent over that buyer information sheet to my closing attorney? Did I remember to send the contract over to the lender, right? Those are all things that are easily forgotten when you're in the hustle and bustle of doing real estate, right? So make sure that you do this. Another one I was notorious for forgetting, transferring utilities. I mean, seriously, I always forgot to make that call or to tell the buyer. And Shannon, I see your hand raised, honey, go ahead.
I was just going to ask now I can see how the client update would be the most unutilized thing for us. So would you recommend when we're doing client updates, is that like a weekly thing? Would you say that's just per stage? What would you recommend doing, because I'm trying to get myself more organized, and I know that I'm very all over the place with when it comes to this stuff. So
You're not
this-
alone in that. That is the
I
main
know
real
this
estate
will help me out so much. So what would you recommend? Weekly or like every few days?
So, I mean, it's really going to depend. I think with the listing, I mean, the market's just moving so fast right now that you may want to, like with the listing, especially when you're first, let me get in here. When you're first listing and it's like, we got it staged, we got the lock box put on, we got the sign put out, we got this done, we put it in here, we got it set up to receive appointments, right? I would just set it to go every day because it's not going to send if you didn't check something off. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to send an email
Yeah.
if you didn't check something off. So it's actually set up just to go every day. But you're checking off the items is what's going to spark it to send the email,
Okay, cool.
right? So if you didn't do something today, then it's not going to do anything.
Okay.
Good deal? What else, guys? I mean, it's pretty straightforward how to do it. The discussion is more why to do it, what things do I add? And so I really invite you guys. I know that I saw Holly Bilborough is in here. Holly and I both have worked for the same agent, and we have huge checklists for that agent, right? That are paper checklists. And lots of our agents have shared their checklist. So I know that Erin won't mind if I show you hers. I liked Kale's checklist because it was laid out. A lot of people want to know, like, it's laid out in phases, right? But the other thing to consider is just looking at, I think these were Erin Nelson's. Let's open up Erin's. And I mean, we've always just printed these out, right? But that doesn't really help us in the grand scheme of updating our clients, because then we have to remember to send them the email, which is an easy thing to forget. So this is Erin Nelson's checklist. So submit under contract paperwork within 48 hours. Consultation folder, here's what goes in it. Under contract folder, here's what goes in it. She's got additional documents. Before due diligence period ends, make sure that you do pest, home, radon, well, septic, survey, other, inform the listing agent of inspections and dates, confirm the appraisal has been ordered with the lender, upload your inspection reports in command, right? So she has very detailed checklists, right? Very detailed. So you can take these and you can actually pick and choose what is right for my business, right? Yeah, probably massive checklist. You can pick and choose what is right for your own business as you grow. I mean, I know looking at who's in here, some of you are seasoned veterans, some of you are newer agents. Newer agents, just take others' checklists and look at them, right? Look at them, go ahead and take the baseline of what everything is. And as your business grows, you'll get more, more akin to what you want to do. Like I did not do this. So I love looking at others' checklists, because Kale emails a packing tip email, right? That might be really, really useful to a seller. Here's some tips on packing. And then he has it denoted here on the right-hand side, what he does send to the client update, what he checks off the client update box for. So when you're in your checklist, let this open up. So 8 client updates are selected out of my 10 items, right? I created a virtual tour. I added the photo. I shared it on Facebook. I posted to Twitter. I emailed it out to my database. They're not going to know what reverse prospecting and matrix means. So I don't need to have that checked off, but I do need to do it, right? I ran a Facebook ad. I had an open house scheduled. I scheduled a broker open. Send them a thank you card. They don't need an update for that, right? So you'll just pick and choose what it is that you want them to see. Yes, Jen, I will be sharing all of this stuff with you guys. I'm going to try again, actually, right now to drop it into the chat. I don't know why it's being difficult with me today. Let me find it again and try to drop it into the chat one more time. Nope, it just don't want to let me do it. Jen, make sure that you put your name and your email in the chat, and I'm going to email this checklist to you afterwards. And depending on what market center you're in, a lot of people share their checklist in Facebook, right? Katie, when we check these off, does it send one email with a list of what was completed? No, Katie, it sends one email. So it is set at whichever time of day to send that one email. So anything that you checked off that day is what's going to be sent in the email. Okay, good. Not trying to blow them up. No, we're not trying to blow them up. That would be a lot if every time we check something off, right, that did that. But no, it will send one time of day at whatever time you choose right here in the center. Send it this time. So anything you did in that 24-hour period and checked off is what is going to get emailed to them, as long as it was selected as the client update item. Okay, what else, guys? This is y'all's time. So it's not a lot of content, actually. It's more a discussion of what to do, right? Because the checklists themselves are pretty simple to set up. You just pop in there, you add your items right from this screen. So just remember, don't add it in the individual opportunity. You're going to actually add it from here where we're editing our stages. So I'm going to show you one more time, because I know we had some folks come in late. We're on our opportunities list, our opportunities pipeline. We're going to pick one of our phases. And once we're in here, we can actually go up and click edit stages. We can add stages, delete stages. So you can see this one is listings active. So if you handle staging for your folks, then you might have some stuff here. When you're showing, here are some of the things that would happen in negotiations, your due diligence period, which is huge in our state, which is why I added it. Due diligence period was not a stage that existed prior to me adding it, right? And then in clear to close, you might have a few things to do here. And then if you don't feel like you need one, you can actually click delete and just get rid of that stage, right? So we can add and delete stages, and then we can open up our checklist items, request feedback, monitor the market for price adjustments. I don't think we need those right now, or price reductions, but that is our market right now. Doesn't mean we won't need them later, right?
Monica, what is the significance of the probability percentages there?
Yeah, so the probabilities are actually taken from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent 2 that is not yet out, right? And it's based off of these goals. You can see, it's based off statistical data that they have. That's one of the whole points of Command, is to be able to give us, the more data that we give it, the more it's going to give us back, right? So when you are, and they had this one set up, I should have changed due diligence period a little bit. But when you first get a person and you meet them and they're like, I might want to buy a house. I'm not sure. It could happen. It might. Then you're going to go in here and you're going to, let me edit. You're going to be at about 5% probability of that closing, right? But once you're nurturing them, that's going to go up a little bit. Once they say, okay, I'm ready to sell, I'm raising my hand, then that's going to go up to 10% probability that it's going to close and put money in your pocket, right? And the further they move down the pipeline, the higher the probability goes. And so you'll see next to each pipeline, it is calculating the potential income in your entire listing pipeline. Even my people in Cultivate, if I have somebody that says, yes, I want to sell, but I have to get a new roof and I want to replace my HVAC before I do it because I want to get top dollar. And you're like, okay, their house is probably going to be about $400,000. Then it's going to probable income give you 5% of that, right? So each phase and stage is got a certain percentage probability. And as we move forward and we feed this system more and more information, it's actually going to start customizing those percentages to our personal business. And the good thing to see about it, if I'm really good at getting my person from Cultivate into appointment, but then appointment into active, I'm not doing as well, then I might need to do a better job at my listing appointments, right? If I'm really good at getting my buyers under contract, but not to close, then I might need to take the class bulletproofing the transaction and how I can keep my deals from falling apart after a bad home inspection or something to that effect, right? So that's what those probabilities are good for. What else, guys? The more questions we ask, the more it might help somebody else when they watch the recording. So don't hold back. Ask me what you got. Checking the chat. Nothing? All these folks and no questions?
I know I've got a lot. You've already overwhelmed my head so far. So I've got a lot of checklists to do. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of things to add. So,
And just remember that, you know, keeping it simple at first is fine, right? When I'm going to go list a property, I have to do these things. And Shannon, you've been in the business for a while. And
Yeah.
then guys, once you have these set up, share it with your neighbor, right? Because this could really improve someone's life and they just may not have seen the class or taken the class. I'm still checking the chat, so excuse me for looking away for y'all, away from y'all. But share it with your neighbors. I mean, I know that Wendy shares her checklist, or Holly rather, because they're Holly's checklist. We all know that. They're happy to share their checklist. There are probably tons of checklists in your private Facebook groups for your company that you might not have thought of that item, right? And now you get to add it into your checklist. Yep, Holly said she's happy to share. What else, guys? Any other questions? Anything else that you want to see?
Can I ask a question outside of opportunities?
Yes, sure.
Okay, you know that D2, what is D2?
Mhm.
So how are people tagging that so that this, tagging their contacts so that you're going in there and just pulling up?
How to tag them D2.
Uh-huh.
You have two different options. Command actually comes equipped with a smart plan called the quarterly call smart plan. So if you put your whole database on the quarterly call smart plan, then every quarter it's going to remind you to call people. But if you want to use D2 tagging, like here's T and J. So you see how I have everybody with the last name T, or this is actually my team. Hold on, let me move to my personal account. And my team tagged by first names. Let me get into here. Go to all contacts. There we go. All right, so here's my A&Ws, for instance. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these are my 59 people that their last name starts with an A or it starts with a W. So I can just pull them up by tag, right? If it's my week for A and W, then I can just pull them up by the tag. I can start calling the list. Or I can also create a smart view. So I have that filter established that it's just my A and Ws. I can come up and I can create smart view and name the smart view A and W. and I can save it. And then when it's my week to call A and W's, I can just pull up just that smart view. Right. And then I don't even have to do the search.
Okay.
And you can do that for each one. So if you don't know what the DTD2 tagging system is, since we're having that discussion, we have plenty of time to do that. Let me open my website real quick. If you come into this little manual, so kwtriadtech.com, you can click on the 90-day ramp up. And if you scroll down through, it will get you to the DTD2, doing the database 2 tag schedule. There we go. So this is a schedule that prevents call bias, because it's much easier to call the people that we're friends with or that we talk to a lot already than it is to call our entire database. And this is what helps you prevent that. So this is actually the schedule of how you should call. What else? Don't be shy. Ask away.
One of the things that I didn't realize, I just had my first listing. I had an open house yesterday, and there were some things that I didn't realize I had not done in particular for open houses to get sign-ins. What are some of the ways that you all are using open houses to get feeds and leads, and how are you best getting people to sign in? Some people don't feel comfortable with the paper. Some people don't feel comfortable with the QR code. I'm not sure how to best do it.
I would have a paper copy. And
Okay.
another one that I love is just coming here into command. You can go into designs. No, I like. You can go into consumer, create a new page, and make a landing page.
Okay.
If you have a tablet, right? So drop a branded header, drop a lead form, and then below the lead form, you can drop a listing widget. And when I go to configure widget, my branded header and lead form are good. I need to browse listings. What was that property I was using in my class on Friday? I think it was 1120 Melrose Street. Just trying to think of something that's active that I can get it to pop up. Yep, right there. So say I'm doing an open house at 1120 Melrose Street. I'm going to save and apply that. Okay, so now I have my branding. Right here, I can actually go to this lead form and say, welcome, please sign in.
Okay.
Save and apply that. And then I can publish this page. And it's just a website, and I can have it pulled up on my tablet or laptop or whatever you're using at your open house.
Okay.
And you can sanitize it, because of COVID, right?
Right.
Have it sitting there, and you can just say, welcome, please sign in. And when they fill in their information on here to sign into your open house, they can look at pictures of the house and other things that they want to know, see it on a map. You can tell them they are welcome to scroll through and look at everything. And when they sign in, it'll automatically add them as a contact to command, right? And so then from there, you'll automatically have them added as a contact. They'll come in as a lead, and you could actually put them on. I'm going to go to the library because it's less crowded than my personal Smart Plan library. You could actually put them on the open house follow-up Smart Plan.
Okay.
Right? Send the text, send the touch task. You could send them a card if you got their address. So all kinds of different things that you can do.
Perfect.
Yep. And then for
Thank you.
people who don't want to do it digitally, just have it on paper.
Okay.
What else, guys? Number one. who's your agent? I have to email my checklist. Yes, definitely email Holly. Those checklists are years in the making. She put her email address in the chat. What else, guys? I've got 10 minutes blocked off for you. Use it.
Mhm.
I'm here till 11. All right. Well, if you guys don't have
Hello,
anything else, I'm gonna hang out.
Monica.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just one reminder for newbies, be sure when you greet them, when you greet your guest at your open house, just ask them, who is your agent? If you have an agent, let them get in touch with me if you're interested, because that's just, 9 out of 10 times, they don't even remember that they have an agent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
And
awesome.
you don't want to be in that position on the other end. So,
Right.
Yep. Debo made the same comment. Good call. Definitely we should always ask that, right? Even
Right.
if somebody calls us to see a property and we meet them there, that we should ask them that.
right.
I-
Actually,
I
before
got-
we meet them there, because,
To me, plenty of times.
oh yeah. Thanks, Monica.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hey, Monica, it's Jay.
Hey, Jay,
Thanks for letting me hop in today. I really appreciate it.
of course. I'm so glad that you got to come. I hope it was helpful to you.
It was. I've got one of these checklists of my own, but I'm gonna see what yours has and maybe make a better one.
Yes, yes. We need to just keep growing it, right? Because you're in South Carolina,
Correct.
right? So do you guys do due diligence in South Carolina? I don't think you do.
We do, but it's a little different than yours. We have an added layer, so we have 2 different options when it comes to discussing and deciding on repairs. And so due diligence is one of them, but it's a little bit different than the way y'all do it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, that's why it's hard to set it up to go across the whole country. But I think that Kale did do a great job with that. And for us to just be able to go in and edit it is awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's one of those things too, as you do this and as you move through it, you're going to start realizing you need to add stuff or take stuff away. I mean, it's with anything else that you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what Jay is, another market center tech trainer like myself. And that's something that is really a good thing to remember about Command is using it. It's like, think about how often we customize this thing, right? We move stuff around, we move stuff on our home screen, we move it away, we download an app, we delete an app. You're doing the same thing with Command. You're through use, you're seeing what is it going to do for me that makes my life easier. This is the remote control for our life, and Command is the remote control for your business, right? So as you use it, you're going to learn more and more about it and what you want it to do.
And as Monica said, I am an MCTT down in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm also an agent in production. So if you guys ever need anything this way, please let me know. My email is in the chat. I'd be happy to help.
Yes. Jay is excellent. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to hang out here until 11. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to stick around. But I don't want to hold you guys back from your day. Get out there and get something sold. And I hope that you have a great rest of your day and a great week.
Thanks, Monica. This was great.
Thanks, Monica. This was really great. I have a quick question while everybody's going off, because mine's like really personal to the listing I just had.
Okay.
Hi, hey Monica.
So we did the.
Oh, sorry. I just
go
have a
ahead.
quick question. It's not. It seemed like yours might take a little longer.
What's up,
Oh,
Jeff?
yeah, go ahead.
I have someone I added as a contact, and I can't figure out how to add them to be able to do opportunities. Is it because like I'm still on the PC team?
It's because you're on the team, Jasmine. So
Okay.
if you have your contact added, you can definitely add them in your personal side, right? And then if you want your productivity coaches to be able to help you through the transaction, see your paperwork and things of that nature, you're going to need to take that contact. I'll use this one as an example. And when you're in here, you're going to click the 3 dots and choose account and move it to the team.
Oh, got it. Okay.
right? And then that's gonna move it into the team side, which is also where any leads are gonna come from.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're gonna be in the team side of command. And that way, when you create the opportunity, if you called your productivity coach, whichever one is handling you, squad leader, I could not get that word to come into my mouth. They can actually log in and see your opportunity and say, yes, that buyer agency agreement looks good, or no, it doesn't. You need to fix this piece, right? If you don't do it through the team, they cannot see it unless they log into your account.
Got it. Okay. Done and done. Perfect. Thank you so much, Monica.
You're welcome.
Have a good one. Bye.
If you do. All right, Jen, what's up?
Okay. Am I on? I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, so I was trying to figure out what I do next. So I have two offers on the table. One that's actually been written up and one that says it's on the way.
Okay.
One that has asked us, they said, if you're gonna counter, can you go ahead on and let me know by this afternoon? And I'm trying to figure out, how do I counter?
How do you counter, like paperwork wise?
Yes.
Did you do it in DocuSign or Dotloop?
It looks like she used DocuSign, but she sent them multiple documents at one time. So I use Dotloop.
Okay, so you're the buyer's agent,
I'm the seller's agent.
you're the seller's agent. So they send you an offer
Mm-hmm.
and they want you to counter it.
Yeah.
So, and you're going to be using Dotloop. So the only
Right.
thing that you can really do is strike throughs and seller initials.
Okay.
So let me get into my Dotloop account. So you would, it's essentially just a PDF that you have, right?
Right.
So I'll go into this fake listing and I'm just going to upload that PDF of the offer that was emailed to me from the other side. Let me see, I'm sure I can find an old offer somewhere. All right, so then I would just go into this offer and say that they offered whatever this is, 442. Then I would add a strike through like that and add
Okay.
a text box. That's, I think that's 442 that I want 450. And then I would add my seller's initials right next to it.
Okay.
Date right next to my seller's initials. I would make these adjustments too, right? And then send it back.
Yeah.
And then send it back to them with those initial
Okay.
dates.
Good.
And then I would request that once you come to terms that they send you a clean offer. But
Okay.
that's me personally. I don't like strike throughs. So I would request one, but that's totally up to you.
And I think that's what that may be what she's asking me. So if you know that you want to do a counter, just let me know so that I can get it
You can
clean one.
You can send that as a text too.
Okay.
Like my seller wants 450.
Okay.
People are so litigious nowadays and they just sue everybody that I like having a paper trail personally.
Me too. I understand 100%. But that's exactly what I was nervous about, because a lot of we did the email transaction, but she's text as well. And so I was like, how am I going to make sure that this is correct?
I mean, emails and texts, as long as you're saving them, I mean, I think you're pretty safe, but it never hurts to have it like this, either. So this is
right
that you can do it.
Okay. So the strike through the box and then initials beside created.
It's like, a couple of places for your seller to click. So it's not like it's too bad. And then you have a paper trail.
Okay. All right. That sounds awesome. Monica, you are amazing. And thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I'll be sure to review. I got in later, but I need to make sure I need a one-on-one with you to make sure I understand command. because I'm on a team, and so I learned that side of command with my team, and I don't really have the command understanding as I should.
Yeah.
Does that make
Oh,
sense?
just remember-
So,
From my website, you can come straight up to the teal button in the upper right corner and schedule a 15 or 30-minute one-on-one with me whenever you want.
oh wow, okay, yeah. Okay, I will do that. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. All right, guys.
All right, you have an awesome day.
I hope you do.
Bye.
Bye, you guys. Have a great rest of your day. I'm here if you need me. Please reach out if you want any help with anything. I'm happy to help you out with that. See ya.